Bumped into my camera. Greetings and salutations here from the Pocket Dimension. Welcome back to Paint All the Things with your master of mediocrity, the one and only JP Gotrokkits. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for hanging out with me tonight as I paint some Space Marines. So let me fix this stupid camera here. All right. Okay. Stupid camera. I bumped into it while I was getting set up for the stream here, and it's just all kitty wampus here. All right. I think that'll work. All right. So, greetings and salutations. So, I am going to paint up Space Marines. Hey, Kristen Seeger, how's it going? Nice to see you here. Have you sent me your address yet so I could send old Meg Mucklebones out to you here? So make sure you do that on the Discord. You can DM me through Discord if you want. Send an address where you feel comfortable having things sent to you. And then there was Mac needs to get a hold of me at my email, which is the channel at gmail.com here. So anyhow, just going to do some Space Marines in an often not seen color. Now, I primed these up last week. We had some nice weather. It was up in the 60s. So I had some... Now, here's something, just as an idea, folks. You don't have to silo yourself to using quote-unquote hobby labeled products, hobby branded products. So this is actually Rust-Oleum burnt sienna, and it's flat. Now as long as the paint, the finish is a flat finish, it will be suitable for miniatures, because what we're looking for, you could actually even use a satin finish. That's fine too, but you want to definitely avoid gloss. So make sure you read your label. But what you're looking for really is something to provide tooth to your paint to stick on, because the hard plastic is just not gonna do it for you. So, but this is just burnt sienna by Rust-Oleum. It's flat. It's got a little bit of a sheen to it. So, but it's flat enough. It'll hold the paint that we put onto it. Not a problem. But it's orange. Orange. We don't see a lot of orange Marines. We usually see yellow and blue and green and red. But I don't know that I've really seen much in the way of orange or gray. We see gray a lot. So you got those colors. Black. You know. So I'm going to do orange. The reason I'm doing orange is because I have this really wonderful color called Nova Orange, and this has actually inspired this chapter of Space Marines. Now I'm not doing a whole lot of Space Marines. I'm definitely not gonna match what my original Space Marine project was. I think I've got quite a few Space Marines, but these are the Primaris, and I wasn't gonna go overboard and buy a whole bunch of new models. I don't want to buy models that I already have, right? So these are Space Marines. They're Primaris. Ooh, new shiny. Don't care about new shiny. But I just kind of acquired these through, freebies and pack-ins and the like. A couple of the cheap starter kits for like 8th and 9th edition. I think they were like $40 or $45 for the box with the rules, and I think these guys came with some. Excuse me, I've got a sneezer here. I think these guys came with an opposing force of plague marines. So I think I've got one plague marine left. I gave the rest of them away. Maybe one, maybe two. I don't know. Anyhow, I don't have much in the way of plague marines, but I had the regular marines, and some of these are actually molded in blue, I think. Maybe this guy was a molded in blue one. Hard to tell. I don't know. Anyhow, some of them were actually molded in blue. Others came with how the introduction magazine. It was them. It was one guy and a Necron warrior. So I picked up a couple of those issues because, well, they were basically given to me for free pretty much. So anyway, I have this orange called Nova Orange, and it's sort of a subdued orange when it's compared to this orange. So I may do the regular Pro Acryl orange as the base and maybe use the Nova Orange as highlights. But there's also this orange, which is the Vallejo Game Color orange. Heavy orange. It's a base. That's more of a base coat. But I don't need to worry about a base coat because I've already got the base coat on with the spray paint. But back to my original opening point about this color orange. This is Burnt Sienna. It's a flat color by Rust-Oleum. I think it cost me $6, $7. Sometimes you'll find them on clearance as well. Just keep your eyes open. Anytime you go to Lowe's or Home Depot, swing through the spray paint section and see what there is. Sometimes people have things they brought back that are discounted. But yeah, don't get so tied into it must be. I must only use the hobby brand spray paints because they get. I mean, I don't know about you, but I'm not a fan of paying $20, $25, $30 for a can of, for what amounts to a $6 can of spray paint. So anyhow, that's what we're doing. I think what I'm going to start out with tonight is I think I'm going to paint up his joints. So we'll start out painting up the joints on these guys, and don't worry about the actual color of their armor. Maybe on Thursday. So Orange Marines. So we'll do the armor joints first with black. And we'll just use good old coal black here. Could use any color black. Maybe even use some metallic. I don't know. But either way, metallic will go over black pretty good. But yeah. So we're gonna paint up the armor joints. The armor joints in here. Back here, under the arms, right there. Maybe catch this little hose. Probably paint up their weapons in black as well. So we're just gonna do all that tonight. See where that takes us. So, figured I'd do a little Warhammer. I haven't done much Warhammer for a while, so. Go ahead and do some of that. All right. And we're going to be doing batch painting. Let's see. Do I have a good recommendation for a yellow that's actually yellow? Yes, I do. Two of them actually. So there's the Louise Sugden Rogue Hobbies Pro Acryl Bismuth Yellow. That's about as yellow as you can get. And then Pro Acryl Golden Yellow. Right there. Those two are really great yellows. Um, but they're about as close to true yellow as I could probably recommend. And they're fairly high pigment, so they they work nicely with each other, or they work nicely with whatever you're working on. But here's my secret to yellow. My secret to yellow, and a lot of people's secret to yellow, is now you could use either a pink, you could use a flesh tone, or you could use. Now, I like to use like a medium color brown underneath, maybe like old wood here from Panzer Aces by Vallejo, or khaki. Khaki's a really good one to put underneath yellow because it's already got some yellow notes in it as well. Um, or like an English uniform brown, so it's a little bit darker. So these are all Vallejo colors. So old wood, khaki, or English uniform. Um, and it makes some. So say for instance, maybe you like to prime in black. Now personally, I try to avoid priming in black. I actually prime in brown a lot. Or if I can find a hobby cheat and find a really cool color to prime in that's close to my finished color, that's going to hide a lot of sins. The two yellows you have are more off-white or brown. Ah, understandable. Understandable. I think you'll like the Rogue Hobbies and the golden yellow from Pro Acryl. So, but yeah, I think you'll like those. Those are very yellowy yellows. This is actually also very yellowy yellow. It's surprisingly enough bright yellow, but it's a craft paint, and as you probably know, craft paints are a little thin on pigmentation. A little thin on pigmentation and a little thick on their texture, so they can be a real struggle to work with. But the Pro Acryl is a line of paints that I think um, lives and dies on its whites and its yellows. So the white from Pro Acryl is really great and very not chalky. And the yellows have great pigmentation. So whenever you whenever you're looking for a line of paints, a good hallmark, a good touchstone of how good those paints are going to be for you are how are their whites, how are the yellows, and you know, um, Pro Acryl has that. Uh, Army Painter, the new Army Painter Fanatic lines probably has a really amazing yellow as well. I haven't really looked at that line because I've got the paints that work for me right now, and as I go through things, I'll probably be restocking. Whenever I do restock, I'll probably restock with like Pro Acryl. So, all right, let's see what we got here. Blue black, blue black. I think I use. Well, do I want to use coal black or blue black? I like blue black. I think I'm gonna go with blue black. Yeah. So, all right, here we go. Little blue black, I think, is a good one to use. I like it because I think I like to do highlights in gray, and I think it's a good way to go. So a dark gray, more like rubber as opposed to black. I think is going to be a nice way to go. So instead of just going straight up black, we'll start out with a blue black and kind of try to get that rubbery feel. Because when we do a wash with Nuln Oil, that will. I missed a mold line. Oh well. Oh well. I'm not going for perfect, just good enough. And that's a pretty bright orange. It might be pushing through that blue black a little too much. So here we go. Maybe just a much there. And it's okay to get out of line a little bit. Because it's just paint and we can go back over it and hide that. So even if I get a little bit out of line, that's no big deal because we're going to be going right back over it. We do our colors. Just right in there. Right there. Here. So I'm thinking, so my idea is, now I like Space Wolves, but I didn't want to really necessarily just do Space Wolves because I do have a Space Wolf project that I started in on and I want to finish that up, but I didn't want to do I didn't want to do Primaris Space Wolves, I wanted to do Classic Space Wolves because I'm just odd like that. So what in the world is going on over here with this thing? Let's see. Why did my phone just... Oh, come on. Oh, for crying out loud, phone. Alright, here we go. Alright. So I'm watching Rumble on my phone, and I'm watching YouTube on my tablet, and I'm watching Twitch on the Hey Blades81, how you doing? And I'm watching Twitch on the laptop because I tried to get all the chats together in one place, and I've got the app to do it. But for crying out loud! Oh my goodness! I keep bumping the Forsaken camera here. So, and it's okay if it's in a place where nobody's going to see. You don't have to paint it where nobody's going to see, right? All right, so we got the joints on his armor there. How's Blades81 doing tonight? You know, I thought I had it. I thought I brought the lighting up on that. I made that brighter the other day, and then it went darker, and now camera's just all over the place right now. I don't know what's going on with it. We got some snow today. I wish you'd keep it in Canada with you. We don't really need it. I didn't ask for it. I mean, I appreciate the thought, but we really didn't. We really didn't need it. I mean, you and Black Skull be sending us that snow and rain and everything, and it's just. I mean, I know you want to be neighborly, but that's. You hate winter, I understand. Well, I hear Georgia's nice. Thought about moving there one time. I've got cousins there, family there. Not just cousins, I got more than just cousins there. But a major storm tomorrow up there for you? Oh boy. Well, maybe it'll maybe you can shift it over to Buffalo and not send it down south this time. Send it over to Buffalo or Syracuse or something like that. That'd be great. Tired of the rain? It's been raining all day? Yeah. Well, we got both. We got rain and snow today. Kept getting winter storm warning advisories on my phone all day long. It's really quite tedious, you know. Something else is tedious is painting past things that are already painted. And getting paint all over places that you don't want paint all over. But that's okay. Again, we can fix up any place that we smudge over. It's not a big deal. Really easy. Not a big deal. Misses it because we are in the banana belt, so I hope tomorrow is the same. I'm off at 1 tomorrow, so I'll sleep all afternoon and night. All Thursday I have to get up again for work. Oh, and Kristen is under tornado watch for a little while today. Not really, but I'd love to. Ah, yeah, it would be nice to be able to sleep away the day. I've done that before, and then I'm kind of mad at myself because then I didn't accomplish anything. But at the same time, time slept is never time wasted, you know? It's true. That's what a friend of mine said one time, told me. She said, time spent sleeping is never time wasted. Because it means you needed it, right? So it's actually it's actually healthy to sleep when you need to sleep. Gotta love Arkansas. Wow. Yeah. Well, and the thing is we're starting to, for down where you're at, Kristen. That's you get this cold fronts coming in from the Arctic, from the Northlands, and then it hits that warm air down there where you're at, and that cold air is trying to fall down past the warm air, and the warm air is trying to rise up past the cold air, and they start swirling around each other, trying to get past each other, trying to, because they're polite, right? You know, they want to be polite. Cold air and hot air, they're trying to just kind of shimmy past each other. And then the air just starts moving in a big circle, and the warm air is trying to go up, and it starts carrying things up with it, so you get that vacuum effect. So yeah, tornadoes. Tornadoes are definitely not something to trifle with. I mean, look what happened. There's a gal got caught up in a tornado in a house, and flung her and her little dog off into a fantasy world. And they killed a witch and met up with a wizard who turned out not to be really a wizard, and you know, talking lion and a self-motivated scarecrow. So you gotta be careful around those tornadoes. You never know where they'll take you. It's 90 yesterday and it's in the 40s today. It doesn't know what it wants to do. Nope, that's the South for you. South in wintertime, it never knows what it wants to do. That's for sure. It's kind of like that here in the Midlands too. You know, we got last week. Last week was beautiful, and a few days before that, the week before that was not bad either. And so I did take advantage and got out and primed these dudes up, because they'd been sitting there built. They were in my display case, all built and ready to go, but no paint on them yet. And I've been trying to figure out what color I wanted to go with, and I thought about doing like I was saying, I thought about painting them up as Space Wolves, but I want to do my Space Wolves in the classic Firstborn Marines. So I decided and I thought about doing them in blue, but I'm doing Ultramarines in the 30K stuff, Horus Heresy stuff, so I thought, well, maybe not that. And then I was like, well, what else do I have? Then I saw a gentleman doing the wolf spear. Wolf spear is a, excuse me, had to sneezer. The wolf spear is a Space Marine chapter that is a successor chapter to the Space Wolves. And a few months ago they had an article on them in the White Dwarf magazine. And I know a guy that did up that chapter with the decals, because they basically sold the decals. They packed in the decals for free in the magazine, right? So I happened to be at at one of my friendly local game stores, and they had a couple of back issues of the White Dwarf magazine that featured the wolf spear, and it had those decals in it. So I thought to myself, I don't really want to do something that Games Workshop has already done. So what I did is I thought, what colors do I have at home here? So I thought, I've got orange. You don't see orange as a Space Marine color. really. So I thought that'd be pretty neat. So here we are doing orange, and I'm going to use the wolf spear. I'm going to use the wolf spear decals, and the idea is that my orange space marines are going to be called the Nova Wolves. Because why? Well, because this is the Nova Open Orange. So I wanted to use this as the final highlight color, or the main highlight color. So remember how we talk about having the base color being dark, and then you have a mid-tone, which is, well, a mid-tone in between the dark color and the light color. Well, so now we've got the regular orange. Oops, that's the yellow. So we've got the regular orange, right? So that's going to be the mid-tone. And we've got the Nova Orange, which is going to be the high tone, the highlight. So that's the plan, anyhow. That is the plan. I don't know if it's a good plan, but that's what we're going to go with. And I'm painting in batches, so that's why I'm not really worrying too much about being terribly precise with my painting. I'm just not going to worry that much about. I'm going for more of a tabletop quality, so I'm not gonna get too excited about being 100% perfect in every way. Although, you know me, I always do that one little extra bit. So we'll see how it's going here. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. And that is ban. Spam, scams, or bots. And where do I ban? Ah, here we go. There it is. All right. So we banned a bot. Banned a bot. All right. So that's good. That worked out. Let's see. And we'll just, where his armor meets, right there. The inside of his glove, right there, just like that. Oh, somebody just sent me a funny, funny thing. So. People send you funny things on your phone sometimes, you know. Your friends send you memes. You know what I mean? Cool. Hey, Feisty Crabman, how's it going? How you doing tonight, Feisty Crabman? So I'm doing something I don't often do. I'm painting Space Marines. Space Marines. I am painting them. And so I'm painting them up in orange. These are going to be my own chapter called Nova Wolves. And I'm going to use the wolf spear decals from a few months back that were in the White Dwarf. So that's the plan anyhow. We'll see if it works out. Alright, we're going to go back over the joints in the armor where the under armor, where the flexible things are. Just finished the last Tyranid from the Leviathan box halfway through the starter set now. Nice job, Feisty. That sounds fun. Just finished the last Tyranid. Wow. Nice. Did you come up with your own color scheme, or did you use one of the color schemes from Workshop? Not that there's anything wrong with using the color schemes from Workshop, but I always think it's fun to see what people come up with when it comes to NIDS. And we might add a little bit of white into this, maybe light. Did an Ice World theme using some Turbo Dork paints. Nice! Turbo Dork is getting a lot of love lately. I think it's one of those things that adds a lot of pizzazz, and you can do a lot of really neat things with Turbo Dork. You can even use their metallic stuff as a highlight. At Adepticon, I saw in their display case they actually had a dragon that somebody used. You know, they painted the dragon scales pretty well basic the way you normally would, but on the very edges they actually did they actually used a metallic to do the actual final highlights, and it looked really good. It looked really good. Now I think for a dragon it would look great. I don't know how it would translate to something like mechanical Space Marines or anything like that. I'm sure it would look just fine, but it's one of those things I think you'd have to use judiciously, or else it could look bad. I mean, the thing is it's kind of a less is more sort of a situation. So I think that's pretty well what it was. But man, it looked pretty impressive. Gotta say, it was something I had never thought of doing, but I sure think of it now. Whether I'll ever do that, I don't know. I really don't paint that many dragons, and when I do, I usually just paint it in my style, which is very basic. I mean, it's serviceable. It's not the greatest. It's very tabletopish, very basic, clean, sharp. I guess you'd say almost in that Kev Dallimore style school. Maybe not his style, but at least in his school, if you know what I mean. I don't really go in. I don't do a lot of the fancy stuff. Let's add a little white to this gray. Pick up some of that because it's going to get knocked down once I hit it with Nuln Oil. Yeah, I thought it was a. I mean, I had never thought of that either. Feisty. So, but it looked really amazing. So I wanted to go with orange for these guys because it's not something we see a lot of too often. So these are going to be the Nova Wolves. It's not going to be a whole chapter. It's just I'm just painting up the few Space Marines that I have, the few Primaris Space Marines. So I can stop with Space Marines anytime I want. So that one's already. But I've got a whole bunch of Space Marines, a whole bunch of projects I want to do. Finish up the chapter that I started out with so many years ago, which I actually went with. I was painting them in black armor, so they'd be more of like a space, more space pirates. It was. I was trying to figure out what I should do, and one day I thought pirates would be really cool. And I didn't want to go with blue because nobody gives a lot of respect to you if you paint your Space Marines blue. I didn't want to go with Black Templars, and I didn't want to go with Blood Angels, and I didn't want to go with any of the things that you see in the magazines or in the codexes. So I was like, you know what? I'll go with black, even though they had the Black Templars, which I didn't know at the time. So, but I made them and I used some of the Mordheim sprues or the Free Company, the Empire State, the Empire Free Company guys, and used some bits, heads, and the like. Guy with the bandana on his head, and a guy with a pirate hat on, and pirate on a patch on his eye. So I made those as pirates. It is a slippery slope. It really is. Because I've got a Space Wolves project, but I didn't want to do Space Wolves with the Primaris because I wanted to do more of a classic Marines with my Space Wolves, and I didn't want to go with blue ones because I'm doing Ultramarines for my Horus Heresy project, and I mean I thought about doing Space Wolves for the Horus Heresy, but I was like, you know what? I just happened to have a couple of classic Space Wolf figures, and I figured might as well use those with the Space Marines they're supposed to go with, which are 40k Space Marines. So it was kind of a weird thing. You know, you really have to consider these things seriously before making a commitment. But so I went with this orange, and I found a burnt sienna, a flat burnt sienna at Lowe's, spray paint, Rust-Oleum, just like feisty crab man. Um, I think Adam was saying this the other day, but you don't have to spend all the money on hobby specific paints. You can find a lot of really great things at the hardware store. These are not going to be real great, I'm afraid. I think once I hit it with the Nuln Oil, it'll probably even it out, but we'll see how that works out. But this is a flat, this color, this burnt sienna is a flat dark orange, really. So I thought about, well, what can I call my chapter? Well, this is the Nova, the Procryl Nova Orange that they released at last year's Nova Open. And I was like, it'd be really cool because I saw somebody do the wolf spear because they had the decal packs in the White Dwarf magazine a few months ago. So somebody that I know did up the wolf spear in a very light gray, almost a white. lighter than the regular, um, lighter than the regular Space Wolves gray. It's almost to a white. So I looked at that and I said, "Hey, that's pretty cool. I think I'd like to use those decals, but I don't want to do a Space Wolves. I don't want to do a gray chapter because I'm going to be doing Space Wolves. I don't want to do a. I mean, this is going to be a Space Wolves adjacent, but they're not going to look Space Wolves adjacent because they're going to be orange. So I was like, let me do this. So I call them. I'm going to use the decals from the White Dwarf, and these guys are going to be called the Nova Wolves. So that's the plan anyway. So Nova Wolves, that's their moniker. I'm sure Workshop's probably got that trademarked or something. They've probably got an official paint job too. You know, those guys are smarter than me. So, but no, I think I'm probably in the clear. So there's some more of the joints back there, armor joints. And here's some more right there. Yep. Oh, underneath the neck. There, right there. Yeah, it's just paint. It doesn't look real. You know, I'm all over the place. I've got things. I've got paint in all sorts of places where it's not supposed to be, but that's okay. We can definitely deal with that. It's just paint and it's thin, so it will be just fine. But I wanted to use this orange to base for the orange because it's a dark, that's burnt sienna. It's very kind of a dark orange, but it's not a burnt orange. But it's a really good place to start if you want to paint an orange. So, and we don't really see enough orange marines around anyhow. So, we see blue and green and yellow and red, some purple, white, black, very basic colors. But we don't see a lot of orange. So I thought I might do something a little on the different side. Or maybe a lot on the different side. I don't know if it is a lot on the different side because I know somebody painted orange lamenters one time. But lamenters are supposed to be yellow because they're a successor chapter to the Iron Fists. Is that right? The yellow ones, the yellow marines. Whatever the yellow marines were. Crimson, they were the ones that was it Iron Fists? Iron Fists? Is that right? I don't know. I can't keep track. When Kill Team 2018, I painted Admech as Forge World Riza. Okay, so kind of a rusty color. That's pretty cool. Imperial Fists is what I'm thinking of. Okay. Yeah, that's it. Imperial Fists. I was getting Imperial Fists and Iron Hands kind of conflated. That was where I was. That was where I was getting confuzzled. It's not that I don't like 40K. I just there's so much of it, and I've forgotten so much over the years because I really haven't kept up for the last couple of few editions. I think the last time I actually played a full game was 8th edition, and I gotta say I was not really impressed with the flow of the game. But here's the secret. Here's the secret. You don't have to play 40K the way Workshop tells you to play 40K. You can play around with the scenarios, and you can play around with the rules, and you can add things, subtract things, write in things that work for you. There's a lot of name overlap in the legions. Yes, there is. For instance, my main chapter that I developed, the Space Piratey chapter, I call the Emperor's Iron Reavers. There's a mouthful. The Emperor's Iron Reavers. I've got two nearby sibilants that are fighting for attention there. Iron and Reaver. So you have an N sibilant between two R's. It's very difficult to say. I thought about maybe calling them Void Reavers, because they're a spacefaring chapter, and they swing by every few hundred years to restock their stuff from Ultramar. So they're tied to Ultramar, but they're not an Ultramarine. They're not a successor chapter. They're their own chapter. It's a whole backstory, you know. As these things happen to have. So you want story time with Uncle JP? All right. So the Emperor's Void Reavers are a space-based Space Marine chapter, and before they were commissioned, they were actually space pirates. They were rovers, roving the space lanes, preying upon wayward travelers, and the whole idiom of what pirates do. Well, the Emperor got himself into a bind, or there was kind of a bind with one of the ships that he was on, and these space pirates came by, and they recognized the Emperor for who he was and what he was about, and they felt right in line, being loyal humanoid subjects, right? So they fell right in line, and because they helped out the Emperor, who was like, "Hey, you want to serve me exclusively?" And so he's like, "Now, like 1 in 1,000 of you are gonna die when you go through this, but we're gonna give you all the surgeries and do all the augmetics and all the gene therapy, and turn you into my sons, my finest, my space marines, blah blah blah." All the stuff. And so now they've been loyal space marines for the last 10,000 years. Their own founding, unique from any of the others. So they're not a successor chapter, but they're authorized to receive support from Ultramar. So all their weapons, all their bolters have blue casings on them. Their armor trim is red because they are They shed blood in the name of the emperor. So, because they are pirates and they'll shed your blood, so their armor trim is red, and their armor is black because they're stuck in outer space. Void crabs are something cool sounding that can be crab themed. Haha. Nice. I think power fists would be a favored weapon, wouldn't they? Possibly then. So you could have power fists. Are lightning claws still? I heard that lightning claws aren't allowed to be taken in pairs anymore, which I think that's kind of silly. Right now, I'm just looking for any little power cables and the like, little details. Just gonna pick them up real quick. There's a little power cable. Another power cable. There we go. There's another power cable. So maybe power fists could be their favored weapon. Maybe they fashion them like as claws. That'd be a pretty neat little conversion project. For you there, feisty. But yeah, I heard that lightning claws can't be taken in pairs anymore, which that's okay. Doesn't matter to me. I still play fourth through fifth, third through fifth. Actually, those are my favorites. 3 through 5th were peak. I think they were the best rules, the most easiest to play, the easiest to teach to people. They didn't have a lot of the interrupts to the flow of the play as they do now in 40K. Of course, we've got Kill Team as well. So, and I'm like I said with the Primaris, I'm not really going out of my way to build a huge Primaris force. Mostly what I have through just picking up things here and there through promotions and whatnot. I'm not really gonna go in whole hog on a new big chapter with the new big Space Marines. I'm not gonna get caught up in the 40K arms race again. I got the things that I want, and from here on out, I'll play the games that I want. I'll even write my own rules to play. I think it's a better way to play. And basically make Space Marines. Oh, look out! There goes the world. Basically would make Space Marines Space Marine, elite. So elites get 1 dice code to use. Well equipped, well trained troops get another dice code to use. rabble or mobs, armed armed mobs get another die code to use, and each die code reflects their level of expertise or level of training. You know, hooligans with guns or you know, surgical equipment or surgical troops with surgical precision. You know, a lot of fun stuff you could do. Just got to make room for it in the backlog. Yeah. I think there's a bunch of fun stuff I could do. Just got to make room for it in the backlog. No doubt. Since we were in a commercial, I didn't want to just keep talking. I didn't want to leave you thinking that I didn't get back to you. So there you go. Commercials sneak up on me. I'll tell you. They just do. So So we'll just block things in tonight. Block, block, block. Doesn't have to be neat. It doesn't have to be pretty. We're just kind of getting an overall sketch of what we're doing here. So let's see. What color should I make the chest insignia? Gold? I don't know. Turquoise? Ooh. Turquoise would look sharp, wouldn't it? So if I did turquoise, or if James Walpole were here, he'd say turquoise. So maybe turquoise. So we'll use some dark jade, and we'll block in the chest insignia. With the dark turquoise. And since we're using Pro Acryl, it's definitely turquoise because it's an extra buck. So and that is the dark turquoise from the Vince Venturella line of Pro Acryl paints. Vince, who lives not terribly far from me, couple-hour drive. If you grew up like I grew up, 2 hours is no drive, is no real time at all to go. I mean, that's practically next door neighbor. As far as I'm concerned. So But I've never met the man. As many conventions as I've been at that he was there, I've never crossed paths with him. If you can believe it. As many game stores as I've been to, I've crossed paths with people that know him several occasions. But I've never actually met the man myself. I think he's just a hologram. I know that he used to do painting classes at Origins. But I don't think he's been to Origins for quite a while. I think he was supposed to be there last year, but there was a conflict somehow. Orange and turquoise is a good combo. Yes, I believe so, Feisty Crabman. I agree. Your daily commute is 45 to 60. 2 hours is no big. Yeah. Before I moved to this town where I live now, I was commuting here an hour and a half each way every day, which that's no kind of life. I didn't have much life, so that's why I had to move. But uh, well, there was no work back where I'm from. Family business had kind of dried up a bit, so the fellow I was working for up here, I said one day, how much work you got? He said, quite a bit. And I said, all right, I'm moving up here then. So that was that. But for a day trip, 4 hour round trip, and no big deal. All right. So Operation Nova Wolf is underway. I'll be using the Wolf Spear decals. And yeah, orange. I don't know if I'm going to be using turquoise as the trim though. I don't know. I think I just want this on these wings as turquoise just to give something different. Maybe I'll go back to gray. Although gray against orange looks pretty neat, but it also looks like it could be like I could probably do a lot of battle damage and start out with gray for the chipping because it would probably look like gray primer being chipped up from underneath. So maybe I will go with gray. Maybe I'll go with turquoise on these wings, and maybe blue for the trim. Orange and blue look pretty good. I mean, Denver Broncos can't be wrong. Can't be that wrong. Right. New York Rangers, Islanders. I guess the Rangers are red, white, and blue. So the Islanders, I think, are orange and blue. Neutral for the trim could be a good option. Yeah, so gray could be good. we'll see what happens. I just don't want the trim to be too close to the joints, though. You know, I want to have some separation there. So maybe a light blue or something. I don't know. Maybe mix a little bit of the jade into the blue so the colors jive. Yeah, yeah, that's not a bad idea. Throw a little jade into the blue. Maybe go with an aquamarine. But turquoise and aquamarine are so close together. I mean, how do you tell which one is which, right? Is it the aquamarine has a little more green maybe to it, or a little more blue? I don't know. It's like, is this pink? Is this pink? Is this rose or is this mauve? I don't know. It's not. It's light red. It's pink. What color is this? Is this pink or is this rose? Well, I think it's rose. I don't know. What's the difference between rose and pink? I think some. I think people get a little too picky, itchy about different colors, and like it's funny reading some of the old BattleTech color schemes. It was like no self-respecting military organization would ever talk about, well, it's a silver gray and a red with a little yellow added, and it's just like that whole the whole trope of the interior decorator sort of a thing, you know, a very particular person about, you know, being very particular about the term they use for a certain color. It's kind of think like Sheldon, right? If Sheldon were instead of from Big Bang Theory, if he weren't a scientist and instead being a interior decorator. I think of jade being green leaning and aqua is blue leaning. Yeah, I think jade is very much more towards the green side. I'm inclined to agree with that. So I think what I'm going to do is drop my figure right in the wet paint because that's always a good idea. I think what I want to do is if I do the skull in gold because we have warm, cool, warm. So a warm metallic color like gold will pop right out of that, and I think it'll be a nice complement to the orange. So I think that's what we'll do there. That's what I think. Let me see if I can get a bigger brush here. Something I can pick up a little more paint on. Yeah, we'll go with that. And we'll pick up some black. And we'll paint up the weapons. We've got about 40 more minutes to go. We'll paint up these weapons. That's a little bit too thin. I broke it. I put a little too much water on my brush, so I kind of broke the paint a little bit there. But that's okay. It's better to do 2 or 3 thin coats than one big, thick, floppy, gloppy, icky coat, right? And there'll be some metallics applied as well, so it's no big deal if the coverage isn't perfect. And we're going for pretty much just tabletop ready here. I don't think I'm going to get too itchy about the quality of these guys. I'm sure I'm going to do a quality job. I mean, I always do, but I don't think I'm going to take. I don't want to take any more than about 10 hours on these guys. So four, about 3 or 4 paint sessions maybe is what I'm looking at. Streams, 3 or 4 streams. Because tonight's the 2 hour stream, Thursday's the 4 hour stream, so that's 6 hours. But I tell you, I've been doing single monsters for so long of late, and small pieces, single pieces, to high quality, that rapid painting and batch process, um, I would say it feels good, but it doesn't. But it does doing it this way does prove that that it's okay to be messy in getting your main, you know, your main colors down and blocking things in. Oh, I got a little bit of looks like I got a little white in that black there. I mean, there's gonna be some blending, definitely, edge highlighting and the like. I just didn't expect to get an early start on it. Yeah, quick paint jobs can be a nice palette cleanser. Do a squad, do a whole bunch of guys all at once, or a kill team, or whatever you want to call it. And just kind of get that speed back up and going. You know, again, just going for kind of a high level paint. Well, I shouldn't say high level tabletop quality, because if I go to a high level tabletop quality, I'll be here forever. But I think definitely a good a good middle of the road quality tabletop, maybe. But I've been painting single figures for so long, and just demonstrating various methods, that I am a little bit, or a lot bit, out of practice doing squads. So batch painting is the way we go. Part of my struggle this evening, and I don't know if you noticed it, but I wanted to get the highlights done on the joints in the armor, and some of them didn't turn out quite as well as they could have, because I wasn't going slow. But I am going to be using Nuln Oil to kind of help mitigate some of that, I think. So we'll see where it puts us. We will see where it puts us. But I think I'm going to do the most of the weapons in black and highlights and a little metallic. So highlight with gray, obviously, on the edges. Just kind of go along with the more modern choices that they've been doing in White Dwarf. Because years ago they did some really crazy paint jobs, but they're kind of leaning in towards a more realistic flavor on some things. I've noticed more utilitarian. Although we haven't moved back to camouflage marines yet, and I thought about doing camouflage marines actually. I thought about painting these guys up with a camouflage scheme, but I've done some camouflage paint schemes of late, and I did kind of a high level. I highlighted all the variant colors in the schemes, so that was. I mean, it was for a company, so it needed to be to the nines. But and I enjoyed it. Don't get me wrong. I just it was it was time consuming. It took me a lot longer. Uh, Part of me wants to say it took me a lot longer than it should have, but that's not the right way to call it. I think it just took me a lot longer than I expected that it would. There is a weird little hair there. One of those hairs that happens when you prime outside. It gets caught in the paint. Very strange. So we'll see how this works out. We'll just kind of go with a more utilitarian approach to weapons and gear here. I think, and not get too fussed. We'll try to do a display level job. The way I look at it is I like to make paint jobs that you can put on display, but also you could look at it and say, I know how to do that, and I can do that too. Some of these display paint jobs are phenomenal, and I wouldn't even know where to start trying to um, incorporate a lot of those methods that those guys use. I just don't have that level of skill. But I also don't want to take 200 hours on 1 inch and a quarter tall dude, you know. That's just not for me. I do like to take my time on a piece and do a quality job, but I'd also like to. I'm not competing. I'm not competing. I don't need to compete with anybody. No point in it. I would like to maybe compete just to get feedback, but I can also ask somebody for feedback without having to go to a convention and go to a competition and just feel like I feel like I'm stinking up the place. you know, and feel bad about it. Because you put your heart and soul into a paint job, and then it doesn't even get noticed. And so you kind of feel bad about it. I mean, you kind of got to go into the situation knowing that you're not going to win. But hope is, what was it somebody said once? Hope is the first step to disappointment, which sounds awfully dire, and it's not very upbuilding, but but you know, everybody would like to have an at least an honorable mention pin, you know, or the like, but uh, I don't see any point in that. Why? I don't, you know, I don't need my ego stroked. I do need, you know, if I want to improve, I will take classes. I'll learn from somebody. I think competition painting is a style of painting in itself because you're looking for certain things. You ask somebody that's won, you ask the judges, hey, so what could I have done to do this better? And they'll tell you something. And it might be right, it might be wrong, and it may be this year's that was what they wanted to see, or they were looking for things. But what about next year? Is it going to be the same judges next year? You know, are they going to have the same? Are they going to have the same tastes? You know, what are they actually looking for? You know, I don't know. It's so difficult to. Again, I think competitive painting is a hobby in itself, and I think that if you want to game and paint, you're gonna not worry about being at that competitive level. I think we all want to do our best work though, and that's I'm not poo-pooing on anybody that paints competitively by any means. I'm actually I have a lot of respect for those guys. I'm kind of in awe of them. But also, and I know that they have, I mean, they've painted up armies and units to play games with, so they certainly are gamers. But at the same time, their enjoyment of the hobby, they're they're more paint oriented than game oriented. So, and they know what it takes to win. I have no idea what it takes to win. Clean paint job, blending, shadow play, light play, I don't know. I mean, there's I mean, you could use every trick in the book known to Rembrandt. You could paint in the style of the old masters on a miniature and do all of that and still not win. I mean, there's some really amazing stuff out there each year that doesn't make the cut. But there are also different kinds of competitions. So there's some competitions that are, hey Miar, how's it going? Yeah, I like this color too. It is actually burnt sienna. It is it is actually a spray paint that I found, and it's flat, so it's going to work nicely as an undercoat. So we're going to go with orange. So it's a darker orange that we're going to put orange and then orange over. So we got Procryl orange, natural orange, and then we got the Nova orange, which is a little bit lighter color. So that's the plan. So they're going to be my Nova Marines because of the Nova orange color there. Nova, not Nova Marines. Nova Marines is an actual thing. Um, Nova Marines is an actual chapter in 40k lore. These are Nova Wolves. So, Miar, I'm going to be using the Wolf Spear decals that were in White Dwarf magazine a few months ago, and do them up as a Space Wolves adjacent chapter. So Nova Wolves is the idea. If they were good enough, I could probably put them in for a charity auction or something, but I don't know. Maybe I'll enjoy doing them too much that I don't want to get rid of them. I don't know. But these are the Space Marine Primaris, and I don't really have a whole lot of the Primaris. I don't really foresee myself getting too deeply enmeshed with the Primaris line of Space Marine figures, because I like the old ones. Because I'm an old guy. I likes what I likes, Miar. You know? And I like my old style Space Marines a lot more than I like the Primaris Space Marines. They don't fit with the rest of my collection. They're too big. They don't look right. I don't want to have to tell myself fluff stories to make them work. And I don't want to paint a whole nother chapter. I had just happened to get these through various giveaways and freebies, and you know, I bought the couple of small starter kits that came out with 8th and 9th. I wasn't going to buy the big starter kits by any means. Not with the Primaris. I didn't need them, didn't want them, but I had them anyway because they came with the kit. So he likes what he likes. That's right, Miar. Absolutely. So I'm just getting some things kind of sketched in and blocked in here. I'm finishing some Firstborn Blood Angels. It was the Space Marine Heroes models. Nice, nice, very cool. I've got the Target games, the box games that they sold at Target and Barnes and Nobles, and they've got. I think they used the same molds for the figures in those from the Space Marine Heroes. They just did them in different color plastics. So you got a Space Wolf guy, you got an Ultramarines guy, you got a Blood Angels guy, you got an Imperial Fists guy. So I've got those, and part of me wants to paint them up in black and put the silver shoulder pad on for the Death Watch, because that's kind of what those games are. They've got one. I mean, they're kind of a Death Watch style game because they've got one Space Marine from each chapter that is outfitted. You know, one, like for instance, one guy has a flamer and one guy has a heavy bolter, and one guy's got a chainsword and bolt pistol. So I mean, they've got all that kind of stuff there. But I don't know. Should I paint them up as Death Guard, or not Death Guard, Death Watch? Death Guard's the bad guys. I think I'd just do them up individually according to their chapter. Because I've got some Death Watch. I've got a small Death Watch project from some years ago that I started before they did a plastic Death Watch kit. Boy, I felt real upset when I finished collecting the bits to do Death Watch, a couple of squads of Death Watch, and here Workshop released an actual Death Watch combat team. I mean, I was like, wow, really? Really? I don't want to say that it didn't feel good, but, you know, it was like, if I'd have just waited another year and a half. Because I was buying all the shoulder pads from bits sellers on eBay and getting all the bits that I needed to have different guys outfitted differently. So, as you do with the Death Watch. So, all right. Very cool. So I've got the weapons painted. I've got the chest emblem blocked in. Do a little bit of brown, I think, on the skull. Because I'm thinking about, I don't know, white would actually pop really nicely on that skull. I'll probably, I guess I'll undercoat it in brown just to, because I was thinking about going with gold on the skull in the middle of the chest emblem. So the wings are going to be turquoise. And I think maybe the skull should be gold. So the turquoise is a cool color on the warm orange. And then the gold is a warmer color in between the cool color. So I think maybe I will do that. So we'll see. I'm not really sure where this is going to take us. And I may make some horrible color choices. I don't know. I don't know. But we'll find out. So let's get some brown. Let's get some brown, and we'll get a leather brown, flat earth. Flat earth color is fine. And we'll paint up the let's see. We'll paint up the like that holster there on that guy, and there's a holster on that guy, and anything like that. So let's go a little bit flat earth brown here. It's not a really dark brown, it's kind of a mid brown. Might not be the best thing for leather, but we'll start out with this. It's kind of a pukey kind of a brown though, isn't it? Maybe it's just because it's sitting on green. So it's sitting on this puddle of green primer that I used the other day for the troll. Yeah, I think I need to go darker. I think I need to go darker. Yeah. I think darker is going to be the order for that one. Finally, someone streaming during your hobby time. Hey, I'm glad. Hey, yo, hey, Hio's World. Thanks for joining me tonight. Sorry it took a couple of minutes to see your message there over in the live chat there on the YouTube. Welcome, hey, Hio's World. Nice to have you with me tonight. Choosing colors is the most difficult part of your hobbying. Yes, choosing colors is the most difficult part of the hobby. Something that I find helps is find, and you can print out color wheels. You can find them online. You could put one and save it to your phone. But this is a really good one. I got this one from Eldritch Foundry's booth at Gen Con a couple of years ago, and they were handing this out, so I picked that up, and I figured that'd be real handy. It's got a good printing. The colors are good on this this printout. So I got that. I thought I'd take a look at it. And once you choose a color, if you can choose a primary color, if you can choose an overall color, I've found for myself, heyo, that if I can choose a primary color to start with, or a color that I don't mean, when I mean primary color, I don't mean like yellow, blue, red. I mean a color that I want to be the majority or the underlying color of the figure. It helps. Then I can work from there. Then I can look at, okay, well, how do I want to, say I want to use purple. Well, how am I gonna? Do I want to use a triad? Do I want to use a tetrad? How do I want to complement things? Do I want to go opposite complementaries? Do I want to go split complementaries? Purple to blue to yellow. Or you can do the same thing. Orange to red to jade or green out there over there like this. So boom, boom, boom. You could do that, or come out here, boom, boom, boom. Color theory. If you don't find color theory is going to find you. The other thing is, heyo, and miniatures and models is kind of a communal act, because you have somebody that designs the miniature, then you have somebody that sculpts the miniature, and then you have somebody like you or I who paints the miniature. Well, we're all telling the same story, but we're telling the story from different avenues, right? So let me show you one figure here that I've had on the desk for a while. So this is a Reaper figure. I believe the title of it is called Mjar. Hey Mjar, must sleep, have years, and falling asleep. I'm only going to be on for another 10 minutes or so, Mjar. So if you need to go, that's fine. No problem, Mjar. Have a good night, and we'll catch you next time. So, heyo, this is a figure that I'm almost done with, and I actually started on her quite a few years ago. She's just been kind of in between moves and whatnot, so I got to finish up her hair and some little details, and got to finish her eyes. But I chose to tell this story. So I had a friend who went with us to Ren Fair, and she dressed up sort of in a, not really Elsa. It was like her own take on Elsa, right? So it was sort of more dark fantasy Elsa. So I kind of used her as the model for this. So I said, oh wow, that's kind of cool. So this figure, I've seen this figure painted up as a blonde in a pink outfit. Think kind of like a sorority girl, right? Very light and fluffy, not fluffy, light and friendly, welcoming, warm, right? Well, I wanted to tell the story of a dark kind of an ice queen, right? A sort of a, maybe not really, not like an ice wizard, but maybe someone like who's sort of more like a mutant, right? So I wanted to make her kind of dark and dangerous, so I went with a darker blue, and then I took the staff or the wand that was here, and instead of painting it in like wood or anything like that, I painted it up, because ice is darker the deeper it goes, so I went dark to light. So out here where it'd be thinner and you'd be more translucent, white here, and then dark to here. And I gave it a little gloss coat as well. But I used the colors, and when I base this, I'm I'm going to put some snow flock behind her, to make it look like as she's walking, the snow is actually following her, which I could do if I made the base bigger, but I'm using a shouldered base, so I can only go so far with it. But I'm telling a story with the choices in color that I'm making. Now, if I had to make her a bright blonde and dressed her up in pink and pastel blue, um, I that would be, or even a pastel blue, or even if I went aquamarine, um, I could make her look very much more closer to like your typical sorority. Not to offend anybody, but your typical sorority girl, your girly girl, right? Pink and frilly, and light blonde and fun, but going dark with dark hair. I've given her a little bit of element of danger. So I also tell people, other things you could do. Um, I don't have anything on the desk right now that has these colors, but um, if you get an idea of the story you want to tell about the figure, do they live outdoors? Are they gonna maybe they're dressing in greens and browns? Maybe they're more outdoorsy. Your rangers and the like. Um, Maybe they're knights, or maybe they're nobility. So maybe they're going to have a lot of really bold, bright colors. In the Middle Ages, here's the thing. So you probably, if you're like me, you've probably watched a lot of TV shows or movies about the Middle Ages. Like they had, Braveheart, and some of the other things. They did the movie about William Wallace, not William Wallace, but they call it The King, I think. And then there was that Matt Damon movie where he had the stupid looking half helmet. I think it was called like The Final Duel or something. But Hollywood has this idea that there were no colors and people lived in filth in the Middle Ages, and that was not the case at all. People loved colors just like they love colors now. We love colors. They love color. We're really, we're really not that. We're really not that. Aside from maybe a few life choices and what we get, the variety of food that we get to eat on a daily basis, and a few technological advancements, the Mark One human has not changed in 10 to 6,000 years, right? So people like colors now. People liked colors then. So don't believe Hollywood when they're making everybody dirty and grimy and dressed in browns and grays. And the Middle Ages were a riot of color. So you can tell stories through color. Even the peasants would have bright greens and yellows and reds. In fact, red's actually one of the easiest and most inexpensive dyes for people to make. So, but again, it goes back to telling stories with color. So, this little fella here, this halfling, this drunk halfling on his bench here. There's a table. There's a table and everything here, but I gave him a teal shirt and a purple coat. So he's probably a well-to-do adventurer or a gentleman maybe in the area. So he can have a little bit finer color in his wardrobe, So purple is kind of striking, and yeah. And if you really want to learn how to paint purple really good, get a hold of. There was a Game Trade magazine, GTM magazine, from I want to say 3 months ago. No, back I think September or November. Dave Taylor wrote the Happy Little Minis article on how to paint purple. If you get a chance, if you find it, definitely pick it up. Purple is a weird color because it can go really good really fast, or really bad really fast. So, currently painting a baby dragon for my wife's Valentine. I see. Well, that's That's very thoughtful of you. I hope she likes dragons, because if she doesn't like dragons, then this could be a real minefield. But very cool. Are you painting it her favorite color then, or is it just, or are you just going bog standard, chromatic sort of a dragon color? So, but that sounds pretty neat. Very thoughtful. So let me see, Hio. Going to do something here. I don't know if this will work, but I'm going to invite you to my Discord, Hio. Ah, her favorite red. Well, there you go. I'm going to invite you to my Discord. I don't know if it... YouTube is weird when it comes to links outside. So if it doesn't come through, I apologize. But I do have a Discord. I also am on Facebook, as well as Instagram, all under JP Gotrokkits. Blastercated? Probably. I'm in a lot of Discords. I need to go through and kind of cull them, quite honestly. But there's mine, but you don't have to if you don't want to. That's fine. No no requirements there. So, but yeah, very cool. Well, Hio, I hate to tell you this, but I only go till 11 o'clock, but I will also be streaming Thursday night starting at 7 o'clock. So Tuesday nights that start at 8, Tuesday nights that start at 9, Thursday nights that start at 7, and I go till 11. So I do it twice a week. And of course, I'm working on trying to do more as far as produced videos. So definitely, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, like, share, subscribe, all that stuff over there on the YouTube. And unfortunately, YouTube hasn't figured out how to do raids yet. So there's nothing to do at the end of the stream other than to say goodnight. So Hio and anybody else that's watching on YouTube, I want to say keep on painting and keep on playing. And we will see you on the next go around. So good night, everybody that is on YouTube. It is time to end the stream. Have a good evening. Catch you later, Hio. All right. Thanks. Great. We'll see you there. Good night. So we're ending that.